few years ago, I watched a friend give up on saving after 6 months. He had been diligently putting away $200 a month, but when he checked his balance, he had only $1,200. "This is pointless," he said. "I'll never get anywhere." He didn't realize he was in the hardest stage, the stage where progress feels invisible. If he had pushed through, he would have reached the first $10,000, and that would have changed everything. Building wealth feels painfully slow at the beginning, and that's exactly why so many people give up too early. You open your banking app late at night, after paying rent, after groceries, after telling yourself you'd be more careful. You look at the number on the screen, and it's almost the same. Maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower. You've been trying to save, trying to make progress, yet somehow it feels like your finances are barely moving. If you've ever experienced that feeling, you're not alone. Almost everyone who eventually builds wealth goes through the exact same stage. The beginning of any financial journey feels painfully slow. Imagine trying to push a heavy car stuck in neutral. At first it barely moves. You push harder, still almost nothing. But once the car begins rolling, momentum builds, and suddenly the effort required to keep it moving decreases. Money works the same way. When you have very little saved, your financial progress depends almost entirely on your effort, your job, your discipline, your ability to control spending. Every dollar in your account came from your work. Your money isn't helping yet. But once your savings reach a certain level, something interesting begins happening. Your money starts contributing to its own growth. Interest appears, investment returns accumulate, compounding begins. This is why the first $10,000 is so psychologically difficult. At this stage, almost all growth comes from your contributions. Let's look at numbers. If you have $1,000 saved and earn 8% annually, your money grows by $80 in a year. Not very exciting. At $5,000, 8% produces $400. Still modest. But at $10,000, your investments generate $800 per year, and the progress begins feeling more noticeable. As that number grows, growth accelerates. At $50,000, 8% produces $4,000 per year. At $100,000, $8,000 per year. Suddenly, your money is contributing significantly. But before that point, patience is required. This is where many people quit. They save for a while, make slow progress, and eventually wonder if the effort is worth it. They may think, saving a few $100s per month isn't going to change my life. But they're missing something important. Those small deposits are building momentum. Every dollar saved is a worker, and those workers eventually start producing additional workers. This is the magic of compounding, but compounding is invisible at first. Imagine planting a tree. During the first few years, growth is slow, the roots develop underground, and you may not see dramatic changes. But eventually the tree begins growing faster. Branches expand, leaves multiply, and the tree becomes strong. Money grows in a similar pattern. The early stage is quiet, almost boring, but once momentum builds, growth becomes more visible. The first $10,000 is like the root system, underground, unseen, but essential for everything that comes above the surface. Psychologically, reaching $10,000 changes something internal. You gain proof. Proof that you can manage money effectively, proof that financial progress is possible. This proof is powerful because confidence changes behavior. Instead of thinking I'm bad with money, you begin thinking I'm someone who saves. That identity shift matters more than the number itself. Once someone sees themselves as financially responsible, their actions follow. They continue saving, begin investing, make more intentional spending decisions, and their financial life improves steadily. There's a reason financial advisors often say the first $100,000 is the hardest, but that first $10,000 is the hardest part. It's the stage where you have the least evidence that your efforts are working. It's the stage where temptation to give up is strongest. Yet it's also the stage that separates those who eventually build wealth from those who remain stuck. The people who push through this quiet, frustrating period are the ones who later watch their money grow faster than they ever imagined. Another reason the first $10,000 matters is security. Unexpected expenses are one of the biggest reasons people fall into financial stress. A medical bill, a car repair, a sudden job interruption. Without savings, these events feel overwhelming. But with even a modest financial cushion, the situation feels manageable. Instead of panic, you experience control. Control creates calm. Calm leads to better decisions. Better decisions build wealth. A $10,000 emergency fund won't make you rich, but it will prevent a flat tire from turning into a financial crisis. It creates a buffer between you and life's unpredictability. Now let's talk about how to reach this milestone faster. While $10,000 may sound intimidating, the process is simpler than most people expect. Start with consistency. Saving small amounts regularly is far more effective than waiting for large amounts. If someone saves $250 per month, they reach $10,000 in about 3 years. If they save $500 per month in less than 2 years, this progress may still feel gradual, but remember, this stage is about momentum. Once you cross the $10,000 mark, the next milestones often arrive faster because habits are already established. Another helpful strategy is separating your savings from your spending. When savings remain in the same account as everyday spending, it becomes easy to dip into them. Moving savings into a dedicated account protects them. Out of sight often means out of mind. The psychological effect is real. Money in a separate account feels less available, which reduces the temptation to spend it on non-essentials. Automation can also accelerate progress. Setting up automatic transfers ensures saving happens consistently, even during busy or stressful months. Removing the need for constant discipline, the system simply runs. You don't have to decide each month whether to save. The decision was made when you set up the transfer. And because the money moves before you see it, your lifestyle adjusts to what remains. Let's also talk about temporary intensity. Some people accelerate their first $10,000 by taking on extra work for a limited period, a side hustle, overtime, freelancing, and directing 100% of that extra income to savings. A few months of focused effort can dramatically shorten the timeline. Knowing there's a finish line in sight makes the intensity easier to sustain. The first $10,000 may be the hardest milestone, but it's also the most important because it represents something deeper than money. Control. Control over spending, control over priorities, control over your financial direction. Once that control exists, wealth becomes much easier to build. Eventually, something surprising happens. You stop focusing on the difficulty of saving and start focusing on the progress. You watch your balance grow, see investments generating returns, and suddenly the journey feels exciting instead of exhausting. Think about my friend who gave up after 6 months. If he had kept going, by now, he would have crossed the $10,000 mark. The $200 a month that felt pointless would have added up to more than $10,000, and that $10,000 would have started generating its own growth. But he quit during the quiet stage, the stage where progress is invisible but momentum is quietly building. But none of that happens without the first step, the quiet, patient stage where discipline matters most, where progress feels slow but momentum is building beneath the surface. That's why the first $10,000 is the hardest. But it's also the moment where everything begins changing, because once your money starts moving, it becomes much easier to keep it going. If you're in that early stage right now, saving diligently, checking your balance, feeling like you're getting nowhere, don't quit. You are building the foundation. Every deposit is a brick. And when that foundation is strong enough, the structure above it will rise faster than you can imagine. The first $10,000 is the price of admission to the compounding machine. Pay it and let time do the rest.